Alright, we're going to reassemble this Gen II small block Chevy, and we're using this Jegs complete engine bolt set. There's some of the head bolts laid out there. It's supposed to come with every single bolt to assemble the engine. So we're going to go through and assemble it, and we will let you know what we think. It even comes with some good old RTV. Alright, so on the washers in the Jegs kit, they have a chamfer, and the instructions say that that goes towards the bolt head. So Alex is putting a little bit of oil on the head of the bolt on the back side. He's dropping the washers on, and then he's oiling the washers per the instructions. Alright, we got some thread sealing on them. And remember that you're going to have two that are an odd length for each head. On a small block Chevy, those will go on the ends. So we'll drop this in here. We got another one of those odd ones. Now, I'm just using the impact just to touch the bolts is all. And we got other short one down here. So we're gonna run that in. So the long ones are gonna go up here. All right, we're at 25 foot-pounds. And let's see, the third one, yep. So this is gonna be our first one right here. Okay, now number 2 is going to be this one. All right, number 3. So that's where I goofed up, as I overlooked that hole. All right, so we're going to run this just to touch. All right. Now, so that is number 5. All right, and that's everything at 25 foot-pounds. Now we're gonna step up to 45. All right, so we went through all the head bolts. This is the sequence. 25 foot-pounds, 45 foot-pounds, 65 foot-pounds. We did it in 3 steps. So now we're gonna do the other head. No real reason to record that, it's exactly the same. We'll just flip this paper around and we can do that. We don't want any oil leaks. Okay, timing cover's on with the new Jegs bolts. Let's see if we can wipe some of the paw prints off of here. Luckily our paint was pretty dry, so we should be able to clean a lot of this up. Keep it looking nice. Okay, let's get these push rods out of here. We've replaced this rear main seal. We put some sealer on this gasket, some aviation sealer. So now we got to put this bad boy back together. We lubed the back of the crankshaft, and hopefully I can do this with everybody watching. All right, we gotta push it on, make sure. There we go. That's it. Sweet. All right, we got one bolt here. Oh yeah, there's 2 small ones down inside here. So that's our new rear main seal and gasket. It's been a long day, guys. Long day. All day mopping up Alex's messes here. Get it right where I'm gonna hit it with the ratchet. Yep. Okay, so we'll tighten that one down. We're just using a 1/4 inch on these. Pretty small bolts. We don't want to break them off. All right. Yeah. All right, now on to the oil pan. So we're going to put the oil pan gasket on. Alex has to go through and find the 18 or so bolts for the oil pan. He's currently looking in the wrong spot. They're going to be in the jegs kit that we bought. Alright, so that lines up pretty good. It's got a little bend to it back here. It must be the smush of the oil pan. We got the pan all cleaned up and got some paint on her, so we'll set this on here. There's a stud in the back. So there's probably 17 bolts and 1 nut. Oh, these were probably bolts. That's why there's bigger ones. Sorry, I had you looking.
No, you're good.
So back a minute ago when I said that I've been mopping up after Alex, I've kind of been mopping up after myself too. So rather than him just watch, I'll give him some. There, that'll get you going. Oh, what? Hang on everybody. I forgot something very important. All these back out before we bend this oil into oblivion. There's a very important step I forgot. It's 2 black rails, painted black rails. Okay. Yeah, this is what keeps you from torquing the pan all out of shape. We had to use these old bolts to tighten it down a little bit to get the new ones started here. I'm sure everybody's gonna freak out about the impact, but like, I mean, this thing doesn't have a whole lot of torque. Oh, I lost my tool. What's the torque spec on these? Ryobi 1/4-inch drive. About 10 clicks. Alright, we're gonna spin her back over here. We got a rear main seal all buttoned up. That's all tight. It's in. We're gonna have to clean this crankshaft for the pilot bearing before we put the transmission on it. You gotta remember that. Roll her around. Oh, she's feeling the weight here. Luckily, we only got about another 60 pounds to hang on it with the intake manifold. So we're setting the valve lash on these. So, whoops, don't do that. Don't bend your push rod. Don't bend your push rod, dude. Oh, okay, well, that was almost a major malfunction. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Unfortunately, I was using that. That was my nut. I was using that when I was doing the valve springs and I forgot I left it on there. That wouldn't have been good. So yeah, that, an extra, one of those wouldn't have been good. It's off the old heads, off the other motor. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're 1/4 to a 1/2 a turn past 0 lash, so 0 lash is defined when you've taken all the play out of the push rod. So we're just kind of spinning it in our fingers here until we get to a point where we can't really move it back and forth. And then we go about 1/4 of a turn past that. So we can come around to like 3 o'clock and we'll go to about 7 o'clock. All right, now we're gonna rotate the engine. That was the exhaust valve on number 7. So we'll do the intake valve on number 7. So we're gonna rotate the motor until we see that exhaust valve just start to open. And as soon as it comes up just a little bit, we'll know that, we'll know the, there we go. The intake valve is on its base circle of the camshaft, so we'll do the same here. So I'm not telling anybody anything new. I'm sure there's a bunch of different theories and processes in which to do this, but I do each cylinder at a time. You know, one at a time, go through the firing order. And watch the lifters come up and down. So we'll roll this around. All right, so our The exhaust valve just started to open. So we know that the intake valve is on its base circle. And we're gonna just spin the push rod. You can do it with the intake on and just spin it right here. So we're gonna spin this push rod. All right, we got some resistance on it now. All right, let's get back to about 7. There we go. So we're gonna rotate the engine around again until that intake valve opens just a little bit, and then we'll do the exhaust. There we go. All our valves are lashed. Hopefully, this one doesn't look like it's lashed very well. So we'll go through and double check them. Yeah, it looks like we can use a little bit more lash. Of course, the lifters are dry. Well, I did pour some new engine oil in along all the lifters. We'll just double check everything and get ready to put the intake on. So we're getting ready to set the intake. We've got RTV at the front and back. We put some aviation sealant along the intake gaskets, and we've allowed a skin to build on the RTV. So we're going to set this intake. We've got thread sealant on the intake bolts, and of course we had to go with the original iron intake. So let's see. All right, it looks like, so that's lined up. Look through the holes and make sure it looks like we're lined up pretty good. So let's start these bolts. And we got thread sealant on them. So we'll just turn them in there a little bit. So this thread sealant is kind of probably a good idea on these intake bolts. So we're just putting more than we should probably on there, but I guess if a little bit is good, a lot should be great. So I'm not torquing these down. I'm just hitting them with the ratchet, just kind of spinning them until they stop. Oh, hey,
what's up?
That's why you were missing a washer.
Why?
Because this one's got 2 on it. We were screaming at Jegs like these crazy people forgot a washer, but Alex doubled them up. Listen, if you're new to this, anytime there's a problem, it's always Alex's fault.
I accept that.
We're gonna see if Alex will look up the torque spec and pattern, because I don't remember it. And that's what happens. So we send him to do important jobs, and then when he craps the bed, we blame it all on him. Every place has got to have a fall guy.
It is this way, front.
It's all thermostat housing. That's okay. It's Alex's fault again. All right, where do we go now? Number 1, 30 foot-pounds. Cast iron heads and intake.
1, you need 1?
Yep, it's this one, right?
It's that one, yep.
All right, 30 foot-pounds. We got her set. We got the old digital. Let's see. A little bit more. We'll get some assembly lube on here. Some Lucas semi-synthetic assembly lube. And we'll wad a bunch of it on there. Make sure she's all lubed up. Okay. And we're trying to set this in and get her pointing at number 1. So number 1's over here somewhere. What am I? Oh, geez. I'm a clown. If I make one more mistake like that, it's time to call her a day before I break something. Let's see. Ooh, that's not quite number 1. It's close though. Boom. Okay, so now number 1 on the cap is this right here. This is the only cap I've ever seen where it wasn't marked, but that's number 1. So let's see. Let's make sure when we set the cap on, we should be right at number 1. Yep, we are. That should be good right there. So we can get our distributor hold down in and tighten that down. Oh, and before we did that, we brought number 1 up on 0. Alex held his thumb over the number 1 hole and felt the compression. So we'll get the hold down on here and get that thing kind of held down. We'll put the cap on. Well, we probably won't put the cap on because we won't want it on when we install the motor. But we'll go ahead and get the hold down on here now. Nah. Tighten it down, not even on the distributor. Okay. So we'll get that there. And I'm just gonna put a little snug on it. It's probably not where we want it exactly, but I'm gonna put just a little snug on it to hold her in place here. Okay, because we're gonna have to adjust the timing in the car. So we'll loosen that when it's running, and we'll turn this distributor with a timing light on it until we get it firing right where we want it to. So that's done. That's out of the way. The Dizzy's in. Let's make it look like something with the valve covers. We could probably clean those off pretty quick. All right, so we're gonna spin these new carburetor studs in. We got a couple nuts on them. We'll spin these down. These were also part of the Jegs kit. That was one thing the kit didn't come with. The Jegs kit was the Gen II valve cover screws or bolts. I'm sorry. The Gen II bolts. Boy, that one's going in there tough. We should have definitely chased that. I hope it don't gotta come out for any reason anytime soon. All right, so we'll get that tightened up and we'll see. Hopefully this will, yep, those backed off. We'll do the same with the other one. She's a swinger. There you go.
Oh, she's done? Or
Yep.
she's up?
That's it. Cool. Okay. Right there is good. I don't want all the weight on the oil pan, but a little bit of it so I can put the clutch and the flywheel and everything on. We got to get the rust off of the end of this crank where the flywheel goes on. So this is a Gen II small block Chevy, and we had to order 10.8 inch flywheel from Jegs so we could continue to use our bell housing and stuff that was with the old motor. We also got to clean this hole out in here where the pilot bearing is going to go. We got some Loctite on these bolts. We're going to run them in here. All right, flywheel's on. We're waiting for the clutch to show up. I accidentally ordered the wrong clutch, so hopefully we get the right one this time, and we'll get the clutch on. They pack them in oil so they don't rust, and we got to get that oil off of there, just like a brake rotor. It's no different. Soak her down here with some brake clean. All right, now we'll wipe it off. Try and get as much of that oil off of there as we can, and we'll probably give her just another little rinse. Looks like we still have just a little bit of oil on it. Over here, we'll use the clean part of the rag. So on here, says flywheel side. So this is gonna go to the flywheel. We got our pressure plate that's also oiled, so we'll have to rinse this off. We'll hang this on here, and we'll get some bolts started in it. I almost forgot the pilot bearing. You know, when I was a kid, my first car was a 79 Camaro Z28 350 with a 4-speed. And man, I went through some clutches. Just beating that car. And I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I still had that car. Everybody always says that. I wish I still had that. Alright, the bottom one's being a little difficult to get started here. As we tighten these down in a crisscross kind of pattern here, it'll compress the pressure plate like the clutch is engaged. As I'm sure you guys are aware, this spline align tool is very important to keep your clutch lined up when your transmission goes together. I'll show you in a second what's going on. Okay. Man, I tell you what, I wish my son was home to do this with me. He is currently serving in the Marine Corps. You can see, with everything tightened up, our spline align tool, so the pilot bearing part, clutch disc. So this tool here is similar to this. So we slide it in. That's all good to go. As long as, you know, the clutch isn't hooked up, it'll stay pinched like it is right now. So we can take this tool out, throw it back in the box, and let's get the bell housing on here and the clutch fork. So here's our new throw-out bearing. We can open it here. Now, the way this thing fits together, I'm probably doing it backwards. So that, yeah, that goes against the clutch. So there, that snaps in like that. So when you step on the pedal, it pushes this and all these fingers go in and it releases the clutch. I think we'll put a little bit of lubricant on that. Try and make sure that it's not super noisy or anything. Oh, I did this once already. There we go. It's just the angle of it. All right, and I did grease the bell housing where this clutch fork rides on it. I'll probably put a little bit of grease right there too. So we'll go ahead and get this all set up and we'll get it greased. We'll start some of the bolts. Man, it's been a long road with this car and this motor. Trying to find a motor. Wound up with this Gen II 350. Yeah, just trying to get everything sorted out. Alex had to leave and go get a water pump because I accidentally ordered from the auto parts store a long snout, and that's not going to work. These are a couple different size bolts. That's weird. Now, in theory, I'll raise this up, not too high though, because I got to lift the transmission, but I'll raise it up so everybody can see kind of what's going on. Now, inside here, we've got to fit the transmission through this hole, through the clutch plate, and into the engine. Then we got to start these couple bolts. So I think what I'll do is slide a couple bolts through, and I'll lift it up and slide it together. There is some JB weld on the outside of this transmission. That's not from us. That's the way it was, and it was bad enough that the guy just bought the car, and And then the motor that was in it, he got like 20 miles and the motor overheated, filled the cylinders with antifreeze, so he couldn't really go for a transmission as well, and it did run and shift. So now what we're going to try to do carefully is line this up. We got too much weight hanging off her and we don't have it neutral, so I'm going to slide it back out, hopefully. Jeez, she's a hog. Man, this thing's heavy. But we don't want to use the bolts to pull it in. It should slip and slide in there. I think though I'm gonna have to lower it some because it's a little too heavy for me to hold in the air. Girl, no. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, come on, girl. Lots of wiggling. Just gonna turn these in here. Let's run this one in. But I'd rather tighten it by hand so I can feel if anything's binding. I just made a critical error. Don't do what I did, because this has got to go on first. So the inspection cover has to go on first. Oh, that's something else we didn't take into account. This one piece rear main with the old style inspection cover. But we got to run an inspection cover, and we don't have the one from this motor. It probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. So I think what we're gonna have to do is cut this out to fit. It probably won't be perfect, but we're gonna have to cut this out to get it to fit up there. So it may take a couple cuts here. For the slight differences between a Gen 1 and a Gen 2 small block Chevy, man, I have ran into every one of them. See if we can get this to break off. Who knows if this is even the way it needs to be, but we'll try and fit it and see where we're hitting now. All right, we got a couple notches cut. We cut the circle a little different. Let's see how she fits. Oh yeah, that's it right there. That's money. Put your head right under the motor. They're all 3/8, I believe. So we'll tighten these down, and then we'll get the starter put on finally. And it sounds like Alex just got back with the water pump, sure, the short snout. So once we get this starter on, we're gonna switch to the water pump. Hopefully we'll be able to get that car inside, or the car that this motor goes with. Short bolt. Got the old short bolt and the long bolt. I've forgotten how much fun this was to do. Let's get the short bolt running there just a tiny bit. Okay, still got some wiggle room so we can run the long one in. So we gotta get it kind of in position here. All right. Starter bolts are in. That takes a small bolt for the bracket there.